What's up, dudes and dudes? Here, and I'm Scyushi, and we're back in mode. Whoa. So, big shout outs to the Trove Creator Program because, man, they have been so extremely helpful. It's great to be able to communicate with them directly about some of this stuff. So, there's been lots of things going on with the test server involving, like, oh, how is this going to work? And, oh, this needs a little bit of tweaking and stuff like that. It's been really great. How much feedback they've been taking, but there's also some things that are still up in the air that I'm trying to figure out, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of. But for today's video's purposes, I basically wanted to be able to max out my gems completely, and now it seems that I'm going to be able to do that. So they ended up giving me a bunch of the crystal gem converters, which is cool, but I wasn't actually able to max out all of my gems themselves. Now, the thing is, I ended up calculating, and it's something ridiculous. Like, you need about 500, I think 500 of the elemental type of gem spark relating to that specific gem. So that kind of sucks. I'm a little bit worried that I might end up actually running out of 9th lives, which is gonna kind of suck, because when you end up making a gem mystic, it basically makes it so that you can then level that gem to level 35. So we're going to see a pretty decent power increase. You saw that I already was at 50 kpr. I'll of course have other videos that'll go into all of that stuff. But for today, I just wanted to really push this. I also need to double check and see, they still didn't give me enough. Oh Lord, it's that bad to craft these? Oh my God, okay, I guess I'm not maxing out my gems today. Well, that's kind of embarrassing. I wanted to see if I can end up upgrading my mystic gear as well. But that is, yeah, that's not good. That means, man, they need way too much. I told them basically that I would need around like 500 of each gem spark type. And I guess I miscalculated it because I probably wasn't taking into account the empowered gems. So that kind of sucks. I also wasn't taking into account that it could fail. Maybe the fire gems failed once and I didn't notice. That would make sense. Can I just click max level? No, that doesn't work. Oh, because max level probably was level 30 based on this mod. Okay. Well, anyway, let me see how far I can end up taking this. Yeah, so I was able to get most of them maxed out. Not the fire gems. Not the water gem and not the air gem either. That's kind of disgusting, really. Now, the real question is, did they give me enough of these resources? Yes. Yes. Okay, cool. So I can, wait. Is that my face? Oh, my hat. Oh, I see. Okay. Let's see. So if I upgrade the weapon, did they happen to give me enough resources to get maxed out Mystic? Yes, they did. Okay, cool. Thank God. So I got maxed out Mystic now. I'm gonna have to contact them again and tell them to give me more gem sparks. So, through the magic of editing, it's going to seem like this day this real life day for me went by like that. All right, that's better. It's totally not like 5 days later since the last clip. So yeah, I ended up getting hooked up. And since that last little short clip, there was a little bit of a change with 9th lives swapping into 10th lives. We'll have other videos that'll explore that. Today, though, I again just wanted to have my character completely maxed out. Also, I noticed this as well. They fixed the gem spark price, the crystal gem spark price for empowered gems. And here's the crazy thing. We're getting all of the proper stats off of all of these gems, which also means we are now at 59,428 power rank. 59,000 power rank is now going to be possible in Trove. And it makes me wish that I kept my gearboxes. But yeah, to recap, we got my C4 ring. We got fully maxed out Mystic gear. I do have my torch. I did try to see if they could hook me up with enough things that I could get a full magic set as well. But unfortunately, I don't have maxed out C5 magic set. And so I didn't want to actually like go out of the way to ask my guy to hook me up with like a bunch of nitro and all these other convoluted resources. I tried to keep it simple and instead was just, okay, give me items for Mystic and give me items for the gems. So now we're completely maxed out. This is the strongest that we can end up actually getting as a Shadow Hunter. And as just a physical class in general. Now, I do want to take the opportunity to try a couple things out, but first and foremost, I think that I really want to see how this class will end up handling the end game and whether or not I can handle like this area in particular. Like how much damage am I doing now in D15? Oh yeah, that is, the long-term plan would be now I can just solo D15 on whatever class that I want. So I could go back to my Shadow Hunter and still be able to farm this area. It doesn't necessarily mean that I would be the most optimal versus other classes and more particularly versus the depths, you know, because I kind of already tested that out, which, do I have an error portal? Yes, I do. Let's do a quick little test here. I want to check this out with you guys. I realized that I can't entirely show you guys like maxed out like 100% for a bunch of physical classes because I don't have physical weapons on all my characters, but I can at the very least show you guys what my stats are. Jeez. 418k base physical damage. My God, my crit hit is way too high, which means I could swap that off of a bunch of my gems, but all that would give me is max health, so that doesn't really matter that much. And the max health doesn't really scale that much with the combat block. That was something else that I found out the hard way and tested. The combat block most of all scales off of the class that you use, which they did finally change this. Oh my. What? What is this? Place and interact to purchase battle block. Limited protection from otherwise lethal. Oh, okay. So they're gonna make it your maximum battle block is insufficient to purchase this product. Oh, you know what? Good. So what if I do the hundo? Okay, I just did that and I'm still at 30 because it doesn't matter. What is this then? I don't know. Point being is maybe you guys spend this to unlock the battery in the first place, and then these will end up being one's for 25 credits, one's for like a bunch of qubits, and then these two are both for 1,000 and then I think like 5,000 or 10,000 respectively or something like that. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, anyway, let me hop into a club world here. I want to try out and show you guys completely maxed out Shadow Hunter. Can I end up handling the depths? Now, there's something that I gotta talk about in regards to this power because no one man should have that much power. No, it might look like my stats are really, really good, but you gotta consider that the only stat that really matters in this game is light. And come this update, I would only ever recommend you guys to max out your cosmic gems first and foremost. The rest of the gems don't really matter. So for perspective, I already tried to end up going into the depths with my Shadow Hunter and he just doesn't like it, like even with the bare minimum gear and having like my cosmic gems maxed out, he couldn't really handle it. So now that we've got the extra stats from all of my gems, this will be very telling for you guys in how little a difference your raw stats make compared to the light value. Because look at this, these enemies are still insanely powerful. Granted, I'm not using a flask, I'm not using food items and stuff like that. But the fact still remains, if I was playing on one of the other classes, I would immediately just be like 10 times stronger. This is also considering the class gem is maxed out, which you would never want to actually go for. So what I would personally say in regards to like maxing out a character or maxing out your gems when this update hits is, frankly speaking, outside of the cosmic gems, there is less point to max out the empowered gems. The lesser gems are even lesser, I would say, reason to actually max them out. And then your class gem would probably be the lowest priority possible because that's something that you can't swap per class. You know what I mean? But let me actually swap all of my stuff over to another character that I kind of have been undermining lately, or rather I haven't been talking about it, the Candy Barb. So my Candy Barb is sitting here at 57k PR. I don't have like a mystic weapon, although maybe, can I actually afford one? Do I have another one of these portals just in case, actually? Yes, I do. So, please tell me I have enough resources. Yes, I do, because I have nothing but the mystic resources. Thank you. Oh my God, so we're hooked up. So what do I got on my sword? Attack speed. I need to get attack speed on this other pieces of gear. Unfortunately, I still got movement speed on all of these, so that kind of sucks, but whatever. Beggars can't be choosers. There, so I got movement speed on everything and attack speed on everything, and that's kind of, in my opinion, like the main priority. Then we got the right ally and all that stuff. I also do have auto-use items. They're buried somewhere in my inventory, but it doesn't really matter because I just wanted to show you guys this as a little bit of an example. Looking at like the Shadow Hunter's power in comparison to my Candy Barb, which is actually slightly missing PR because I don't have a C4 ring. That's right. But we've got like the same little enemy right here. If I can get into his face, please God. And you can see that if I could ever get into his stupid face, but the knockback is just so bad for some reason. I guess stability is going to be a really important stat in this area. But yeah, I mean, this is just my base attack, not even using a flask, because when I use a flask, it just annihilates the... Oh my God, dude. Okay, where is my potion that helps me in this place? There we go. No? Did it work? I think it worked. Okay, that's so much better. But yeah, this is something that I didn't really get into in my other videos. More particularly, you know how I had that one video that talked about like the all-around new best class being pretty much Neon Ninja. It doesn't mean that there aren't still other options and contenders for like the most efficient classes. In particular, what I was trying to focus on in that video was an all-around class, a class that's good at dungeon farming, class that's good at delves, class that's good at boss fights, and so on and so forth. But if we just get down to the nitty-gritty, if I'm being honest, Candy Barb might end up being like, I think this is his time in the sun, because he hits like a freaking truck, dude. And he can solo these depths pretty easily just because of the fact that he's got so much like raw damage. And then also just the fact that, okay, the potion didn't seem to work because this game is stupid. There we go. I don't know why I left clicked and right clicked it the first time too. But yeah, anyway, my point being is you saw how weak I was on the Shadow Hunter, and you got to consider that that's because the other gems don't matter as much as the cosmic gems do. Because even when I was testing out my Candy Barb with just the cosmic gems, he was already a powerhouse. So Candy Barb names Rejoice. There's a bunch of different other characters that are a lot more viable in here, but most of all for Candy Barb, it's because he's got really good shield and he's got really good damage. I've also heard reports from Atro as well as a couple other people that have been testing out a duo combo of Candy Barb with a Gunslinger. And apparently it might actually be the strongest combo in the entire game, just because, you know, it makes sense. It was the strongest combo back in the day with Shadow Towers as well. But Candy Barb not only is like really, really good damage, but I can't believe I'm saying this, he's probably one of the only classes in the game that actually fills out a support role, because his Candy Crush or whatever will end up like buffing everybody around with like a speed buff. And that makes a huge difference, especially for somebody like Gunslinger, because then your damage just goes, wham, like it's just so much more. So today's video, most of all, the purpose was to have something a little bit short and also draw a little bit of attention to the Candy Barb. I don't know if I necessarily want to end up trying out every physical class with 50k plus PR, because frankly speaking, I don't think it's going to end up making that much a difference for most of them. However, one that I think a lot of us are kind of interested in that I haven't been paying much attention to is, what about the Solarian? What if I took all of my Shadow Hunter stuff, put it on Solarian? Would he end up handling the depths? Oh, I was actually using my C4 ring, so I don't know why my PR was low on my Candy Barb, because my class gem wasn't maxed out. That's right. Also, I wasn't using the auto food, and he was still that powerful. But yeah, I guess the point that I'm getting at is, if you're sitting there in the comments and you're asking like, well, what about a boomer at that power? It's like, yes, we already know the boomer's going to end up being very strong. The point is, boomer you can easily main for like the depths in the end game and so on and so forth. That's why I'm trying the more unorthodox classes. Now, granted, I don't have a lot of block right now, so that's gonna kind of suck, but most of all, it's just about seeing the damage on your boy. which is not bad, but the problem with Solarian is kind of the same problem that happens with Tomb Raiser. He takes a while to build up his damage. He ends up having even more damage than Boomer, actually. Like, he's one of the strongest classes in the game. The problem is it takes such an absurd amount of time to build up that damage. But if there's a lot of enemies, you can see, you know, it's very, very reasonable for sure. Like, this is definitely a class that you could main in regards to the depths. Outside of the most important issue that you guys probably already noticed, the block stat. It's really, really low on this guy, and that's going to end up being what makes or breaks a lot of the characters at the end game. I know I kind of just keep hammering that home, but it's true. Like, it's going to end up being what makes the difference in regards to if a class can end up being like a true end gamer. Now, that said, see, as a boss killer, this class is still dominating. Wait, they threw this into the depths? Oh, it won't let me use it because my class is so bad. He doesn't have enough regen. The fact that they threw this into the depths is huge. I don't remember seeing that in the patch notes or anything. That's big, because that means that you can just keep farming here without wasting a portal. Oh my god. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to be the last video that we have on the test server. There's still going to be a lot of videos where we talk about the various things we've discovered with the test server, but for today's purposes, it was just about showcasing the end game, like, super high PR classes, just as kind of a humble brag, you know. I'm very, very fortunate that the creator program has been so nice to me in regards to letting me test all this stuff out. I do wish that I could have been able to get a setup so that I could show you guys some of the end game classes from Magic. But if you're looking at you know, videos of 50 plus KPR or 55 plus KPR of all classes, if I'm being honest, that's going to take a really long time to do. Not only just because the sheer volume of time that it would end up taking me to get those videos, because that would end up being like 18 different classes in this game. But when this update ends up going to the live server, people really underestimate just how long it's going to end up taking to max out these gems. Because unfortunately, as I mentioned, they now have added a 10th life into the game. Which, don't worry, we'll talk about that one if we haven't already. In any case, thanks for watching. Smash like, sub for more, buy the merch you want, support the channel. Have yourselves a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen. Sayonara, and stay epic.